If I were to reflect on one biggest struggle that I've been healing from the past few years is lack of self-worth, self-criticism, having high expectations, just feeling smaller than others. And a lot of other issues stemmed from internal insecurities, and that's something I've been working to heal from for many years. So hi, I'm Matapu Magam, and welcome back to Enlightenment. Today on episode 2 of Organizing My Thought, I just want to talk to you about how I dealt with parts of me that I thought were not perfect. So like I've mentioned, this is one biggest thing for me. It's something that I've been dealing with for the past few years, and I thought I should just come here and share some light with someone who might feel that there are certain parts that are not perfect, or maybe there are certain parts that they don't like about themselves. So before we even get to the tips, I would like to encourage you, if you haven't subscribed already, to just click on the red subscription button down below, and also click on the bell just to get notified every time I post videos, so that you don't miss out. You always get updated on each and every video that I post on this channel. Also, just to emphasize, if you're new here, I enjoy creating faith-based content, personal management, and anything motherhood, or rather anything under the sun. So just to give a bit of a background so that you get the context of what I'm going to talk about. So at some point, I was one person who hated how I sounded. Like, I used to hate my voice. I used to hate how I'm sounding right now. I used to hate how I laughed. I used to hate how I would maybe say things or even shout, because I felt like my voice is very limited. I also used to hate my personality, imagine. I always felt like so at most time I would even want to associate myself with people who looked more humble, and I would even shadow myself to being them at that particular time and try to act all humble and stuff. And that alone had a huge impact in my life, because I was not fully functioning as the person that God has created me to be. And with that, trying to be something that you're not, it limits you to a certain point, because you can't even do certain things in your life, because now you are not the person that you are supposed to be. And at some point, even when I had to take certain decisions, I would be afraid, because I never fully believed in the decision that I'm about to make at that particular time. I would always seek for validation, always. And every time when someone comes and says, maybe you should try and do this like this, or maybe you should try maybe doing whatever in what particular way, I would always be protective, because obviously internally I would always feel like I was not good enough. I've been emphasizing on this. If you haven't watched my previous video where I talk about imposter syndrome, please do go back to it and watch it, where this emanates from. Internal conflict is real, and it limits us so much, because even when we are about to take major decisions about our lives, we are so afraid, because now we always ask ourselves if this is the right decision. And if someone disagrees with it, we always feel like we are being attacked. We always feel like we are not being taken seriously, but it's not that. Sometimes a person comes to you with a hand of helping you, but because now you are battling with certain things in your life, you don't see that as being helped, but rather you see it as being attacked. So as I embarked on my deliverance and healing journey, like I've mentioned many years ago, not many years ago, but in the past few years, as I was busy working on myself, working on dealing with this internal conflicts that are making me to be the person that I am not, I started to understand certain things, because that is when I saw that God is my deliverer, He is my healer. And I got to understand that the person that I am today, the person that I show up to being today, it's actually the parts of me that were not perfect, right? Today I am embracing my voice. I see my voice as unique. I appreciate it so much, because imagine if tomorrow I would wake up not having a voice. What is it that I'm gonna use to even sit here and talk to you guys? Nothing, right? So I started to being appreciative of the little things. It's not a little thing. I started to being appreciative of my voice, and got to understand that It is a unique voice, and I need to embrace it for what it is. And so I just want to share a scripture that was carrying me throughout when I was still in my healing and deliverance journey, which is 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9. It reads, "My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness." Paul continues to say, "So now I am glad to boast about my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ can work through me." Grace means undeserved favor, and grace cannot be earned. It's something that is given to us freely. So imagine having the grace upon your life to allow God to work in you, in your weaknesses. How amazing is that? So while I was still in that, I started to develop some activities that really helped me, which I'm going to share with you. The first thing that I did, and which is something that I'm still doing even now, is that I would write down all the typical negative thoughts I've been telling myself. I'll draft them down. The second thing is I'll also write things that I don't like about myself. The third thing is that I started to do mirror challenges. Now, how a mirror challenge works is that the bad thoughts that you've been writing about yourself and the things that you don't like about yourself, you would replace everything with the opposite, which is the good things, right? And then you would stand in front of a mirror. This can be very challenging, as you can hear, but it's worth it. So the first tip that I started to do is that I started to have honest conversations with God. This might sound even like but stupid when you're starting to do it, where you confide in God and say, God, this is how I'm feeling about myself. I don't like my voice. I don't like whatsoever things that you might be facing at that time. It might sound stupid, but trust me, you will get used to it as time goes by. Those honest conversations are the ones that makes you to even understand God at the deeper level. And also while you're praying, you don't have to be all sophisticated and want to be formal with God. You don't have to do that. You just become natural. You can just talk to Him while you are doing whatever that you are doing. It's still fine, but also while you're praying, just be attentive to the voice of God and also tell Him, I want to know you. I want to hear your voice so that you don't miss when He speaks to you. So the second tip is that I started to change my belief systems, and I started to be very mindful of what I say to myself, especially when I find myself in those stressful and frustrating situations, how I talk to myself at that time, because it's easy to find yourself saying, I'm so stupid. So with that, I started to be more kind to myself. I started to be more positive with myself. Instead of blaming myself, I would rather say, that was not a best decision to make, and I'll just brush it off and move on. The last thing is that I started to reflect and reset. I started to renew my mind, because I've seen that the power of our minds can dictate our lives. So I started to do journaling. Every morning when I wake up, I take my journal and I write how I felt, and also reflect on the previous day, what I did, who did I have an encounter with, and things like that. And that on its own, it really helped me, because now my thoughts are starting to be organized in a certain direction. And if I am feeling in a particular way, I'd also be mindful and also be aware of, this is the state that I'm in right now. And also I would say, okay, fine, since I'm here, how best can I possibly show up? Thank you so much for joining me. So this brings us to the end of today's video, and I hope you found this video empowering and also helpful. And also, let me appreciate you for making it this far. Please do drop me a yellow heart, just as a way of encouraging me to do more videos like this. Let's meet again in the next video.